I am not too keen on the whole Pokemon phenomenon, and I don't really care about it much. With that said, I have some philosophical ponderings about the newest iteration of Pokemon Go, mostly concerned the direction that our society is going towards.
By all means.
But first, you want to talk about the game itself, since you have actually been playing it?
Yes, so it's a broken down, completely dysfunctional mess of a game whose servers are down half the time, and when it is, quote unquote, running, it's prone to crash at a moment's notice, and it doesn't have, like, half of the staples that you'd expect from Pokemon, like battling other trainers or trading with them, but in spite of all of this,
you're capturing Pokemon in quote unquote real life.
It's the only game I have seen that has brought so many complete strangers out to public places and just, going there and shooting the shit with people.
And also getting hit by cars.
Okay, yes, you can focus on the negative aspect of it, but I'd like to, at least say that this has brought out a level of goodwill among everyone that I have met. I've gotten people talking to each other, and people out of the house walking around.
I know. Well, unless they are part of Team Valor, in that case, screw them.
I'm Team Mystic, so.
Oh, okay.
So I will say that the some of the stuff being slung around online is really childish. But
what else is there?
As long as you don't take it too seriously, it's fine. It's basically like that gamer just kind of ragging on each other thing. I'm like, okay, it's in that competitive spirit. It's cool as long as it doesn't go over that line. But it is probably the best exercise app that has ever been constructed.
That's for sure.
Know if that's what they were intended for it, but considering a number of people in my life could definitely stand, myself included, to go out and move more, that I have been going all in to keep myself interested, so my enthusiasm could also be contagious to them.
That's great. I definitely see the positive in this, but I cannot help but pondering about certain aspects of this enterprise that in the long run, in the long term, are kind of frightening. Okay, let me explain why on a philosophical level. Our society has evolved in a certain way over the last century with the evolution of mass media and many other ways to basically dissect, interpret, reimaging, or even filter reality, or at least a objective, idealized version of reality. You could argue that there is not such a thing as an objective reality. There is the world around us as we subjectively perceive it with our own senses, which gets further filtered through the lenses of a medium, like a phone, for example, providing a barrier between us and the reality as we perceive it, filtering it, providing an image rather than the actual truth. So the way the mass media have evolved throughout the last century, we've come to a society in which the image, the filtered, mediated image of reality, has substituted the basic idea of what reality is supposed to be. Opinions have substituted facts. There is not an absolute truth. There are various liberal interpretations of the truth filtered through mouthpieces and devices and TV and internet and media and what have you. So it is
By
no.
God, you need to play Persona 4. Continue.
Yes, I can see your point, but
Like, you would have a field day with Persona 4, just
I'm
saying.
pretty sure I would, but so point is there is not such a thing as real world, but there is the image that we have forged through the media that's become the reality. So it is no longer possible to distinguish what is real from what it isn't. So add to the mix the Pokemon phenomenon, which is an explicitly fictional phenomenon. Add it in the mix of this already blurred out line in between reality and filtered reality. And now fiction becomes part of that filtered reality we already experience with our media and our devices and our phones and what have you. So the way I see it, we might be leading ourselves towards a future much similar to the film The Congress, which is from the same director of Waltz with Bashir, in which basically reality as was conceived to be in a certain way at some point becomes completely obsolete, and it's overpowered by a world that's basically the amalgamation of several subjective delusions, empowered by the use of very specific drugs. Pokemon Go seems to be the prototype of that specific drug, because we are bringing the Pokemon to the quote-unquote real world, as we are right now, and they are overpowering the now obsolete concept of what reality we all thought it was. So there's that to consider.
Okay, I definitely hear what you're saying there. I'm trying to form a rebuttal. Give me one moment. Well, again, this isn't like it's the very first altered reality app
Of course.
that has ever
No,
existed.
but here's the thing. No. It is definitely not. But I think it's as a product, as a means to that shift in perspective. It is unlike anything else. I mean, it is not exactly virtual reality, because with virtual reality, you still have to wear a helmet that separates you from the normally perceived sensorial reality, the reality of your senses. And now you're perceiving the game still with your senses, without being enhanced by a VR helmet. So it is virtual reality sans the virtual part of it. It becomes reality.
I think you are going a little far there. I mean, it's only been out, a week? And
I know,
we'll
but
we'll see if the phenomenon it becomes lasts.
well,
that is the major thing, because there is a lot of flaws with this programming. I could see it driving just as many people away over time.
Well, the way I see it, I think VR sets are a fad of the moment, because it's been 20 years since the 90s, so they have come back to being a fad. It's going to go away, if you ask me. But something like Pokemon Go...
Probably at the price point, yeah.
Yes, something like Pokemon Go, considering how accessible it is, considering you don't have to wear some uncomfortable helmet to do so, and considering it actually fits very smartly in between the whole freemium game market, which one would say is both the present and the future of all video games, I can see definitely the concept behind Pokemon Go becoming something more of a staple in the future for other things. Just Pokemon will take over the world.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be imitators, but again, this isn't the first app that has tried this. The difference is name recognition.
Exactly. You can never underestimate the importance of franchising. And that's why I'm saying Pokemon is taking over the world more than it has before, and it keeps finding new ways to take over the world. And as much as I don't care about it, I myself cannot help but think about it and formulate these complex philosophical thoughts based on this one phenomenon. So it is at the very least an interesting argumentation topic.
I don't know. As far as things that have come out recently, I have to say I've seen far more of the positives to this particular move than the negatives.
Well, it's not necessarily a negative thought, the one that I had. It's just something to be thought-provoking, to have something to discuss about. Because I see all these little signs about it that just seem to fit also well to the idea of a reality that's just shifting in perspective the more we go on with the years and the generations, which is something that goes along with the evolution, the continuous evolution of media in general.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I really think it's way too early to tell whether this is going to be a fad or whether it's truly going to change the way that we look at games.
Well, it might not change the way we look at games, generally speaking, because there are so many types of games, so many platforms for games and what have you, but it might change the way we perceive reality altogether. That's the one thing I was going at all this time.
Well, you also have to keep in mind that, as you've been saying, the people's view of reality has degraded over time.
Because the whole process of media and the image of reality substituting reality itself, etc., etc., etc. I spent 20 minutes talking about this.
The easiest way to really show this is just watch any given election cycle in basically any country. Not even just like America. If you look at any country, it's all the same exploitative tactics against the public each and every time.
Well, politics have been doing that since forever. But yes, the more we go on the years, the more the media evolve, the more it is easy to steer up a specific ideal section of the audience.
I think the main thing is the less people ask why, the more dangerous things become.
Yes, we've got to keep asking questions. That's one of the fundamental traits of the human condition, the fact that we have the ability to ask questions about things. We might not have answers. In fact, we don't have answers most of the time. But the fact that we are inquiring about how things work in the universe is what allowed us to evolve throughout the years, the century, our civilizations, our society views, and what have you.
So I'm going to take it that you probably did not play the actual original Pokemon games.
No, I did not, and honestly, I would not stand the grinding. Right now, I cannot play any JRPG because of all the grinding. I don't have the time, I don't have the patience anymore, and I don't have the time! I want to stress it twice.
I feel you there. No, seriously, it's one of those things that's what drove me away from Pokemon in the first place. It was quaint at the time.
I'll tell you what I played that had the Pokemon brand on it.
What did you play?
I played that one crossover between Pokemon and Nobunaga's Ambition. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a crossover that actually exists. I think you might appreciate that. It's basically Disgaea with Pokemon, except not as complex and not as deep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There was a tactical Pokemon game that came out. Oh my god, they made so many different Pokemon spin-offs.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting and fun for a while, but it lost its novelty pretty quickly. Basically, imaging the prologue to that one Pokemon film starring Lucario and Mew, which was set in a much, much more interesting period of time in which Pokemon were warring each other. That's ideally what Nobunaga's Ambition Pokemon Edition is like.
Did you ever actually watch the original Pokemon anime?
I was of the right age when it came out the first time, so yes I did. For a good while, too.
Yeah, okay, so here's how it went down with me. So yes, I did watch the shit out of the original Pokemon anime. And then the very first season concluded, the Kanto arc, as you want to put it, the ones that were very loosely based on the video games. And then, at the exact same time in my country, Digimon was put on at the exact same time slot as Pokemon. So I had to choose which one I was going to watch the new episodes of, Digimon or Pokemon.
Can I
chose
say
Digimon.
Digimon? Digital monsters?
Because the problem
Digimon
with,
as a plot.
exactly, the problem with the Pokemon anime is there's nothing there.
It's one elaborate continued tutorial for the games, basically.
More or less. I mean, and it gets even worse when you go into additional seasons of it, because it's the fucking same thing over and over.
It really is.
Over again.
It really is, except it has not the characters you grew up with. No Misty, no Brock. So really you have no reason to follow Ash, which was the blandest of the three.
So I truly actually went back and I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to sit down and look back at the Pokemon anime, the original one, to see, exactly how it's aged. Oh, it sucks. I'm going to say it right here on the internet, the original Pokemon anime is terrible. Put your nostalgia aside and actually watch this thing for a few episodes. Dear God. It's not even just a horrendous 4Kids dub, too, because, that's legendary. But, it's just...
Yes, well, at the very least, you still have the theme song.
The theme song is going to be ingrained in my memory for all time. But there was nothing of substance in this show.
Well,
there was nothing there.
I like Team Rocket. That's about
Team Rocket, actually, honestly, my favorite part of the original Pokemon anime, going back to it, was Gary, surprisingly, because he's just so over the top. Because, literally, think about this. This is a 10-year-old kid that has people chauffeur him from town to town, and his own harem of fucking cheerleaders at 10!
Japan for you.
At 10!
I thought Ash and Gary were actually 14 when I watched the anime.
10!
Yeah, that's baffling. That's just baffling.
You can get a Pokemon trainer's license in this world at 10. 10 is the age that you're qualified to go face down at Gyarados.
I think we have veered off track from the original topic.
This is something that I did want to discuss, too. So what brought me to this was I was like, oh, God, this is horrible. Okay, so what could be potentially, nostalgic that I could look at that is still Pokemon themed to kind of get me in this kick?
Can I actually give you a suggestion?
I already found one.
Pokemon Free, the film?
No.
Oh, okay. Because that was not too bad, actually.
Pokemon movies are very hit or miss, like a lot of movie franchises. What I discovered was something that I had heard about a while ago, but was the Pokemon Origins anime.
Oh, so is it good? No. It's not.
Objectively, not quite.
Don't say objectively. Don't throw out that terminology.
Okay, I enjoyed it.
Okay, that's better.
If I was going to look at it from a purely critical standpoint, I would not call it a good show. Basically, it tries to condense the entirety of the first generation Pokemon game, Red Blue, into 2 hours.
That's bad.
So there's a lot that is glossed over in this. But what benefits on, firstly, is having a main character that's not dumb as a plank of wood. That's a good start.
Oh, you mean to tell me it's not Ash?
No, the main character is Red.
Oh.
Red is not Ash.
Good.
For one, Red is competent. Red captures Pokemon. Red can actually win a fight without relying on a incredibly over-leveled Pikachu that somehow still loses half the battles he's in.
What are you waiting for? Turn him into Raichu, Ash, for crying out loud.
Well, actually, later on, believe it or not, Pikachu got better than Raichu, because there was a lot of, Pikachu-specific moves and items that only worked on Pikachu and made him, like, a ridiculously powerful glass cannon in the games, but I digress.
That's not good.
So this 4-episode OVA series basically is about Red completing the Pokedex. Yes, he fights trainers, he fights gym. Well, almost all of the gym battles are glossed over, with the exception of Brock. Yeah, Brock is the only gym leader that actually really gets screen time.
Of course, it's Brock. You had to give screen time to Brock.
But Misty is just showing in a still image.
Oh.
But basically the things that focuses on is Team Rocket, like the organization Team Rocket, like the Jesse, James, and Meowth are nowhere to be found in this because they weren't in the original games. And basically him winning the Pokemon League and eventually capturing Mewtwo. And the one thing I will give to this show, up and down, is that if you've ever suffered through the battle scenes in the original Pokemon anime, you'll be so happy to see how they fight here. Because they had a budget, and they fucking used it.
Oh, that's a first.
So, one scene I suggest you just look at by itself. There's a scene very early on where Red, the main character, fights his rival, Blue. Yes, they really are named after their colors. It's stupid, but moving on. So basically they have it out, and, Charmander, which is Red's Pokemon, fights Squirtle. And, oh my god, does Squirtle savage Charmander! Like, savage him! You're like, oh shit, stop biting his face off!
Okay, so is there a point to this whole tirade?
So the point is, it's basically everything I would have wished the original Pokemon anime was, just hyper-condensed.
I see. Well, okay, so we talked about Pokemon far, far more than I'm comfortable with, and I don't want to talk about it ever again for as long as I live.
Oh, fantastic. So I guess, next time we do one of those, it will be about the Digimon Tri anime that came out recently. Digimon Adventure Tri, right?
Yeah, well, I actually have stopped watching it, after 4 episodes, because I found it supremely dull and boring, to be honest. So there's that.
I don't know, I enjoyed it. It definitely felt like a more mature look at it, but...
Not really. First of all, how cheap is that anime? I mean, they did not even put any effort in the animated opening. The characters seems like they were showing up because it was payday. They don't even bother to smile. Barely still images. That's the animated opening. Big deal. With that level of enthusiasm, how could I possibly not stop watching it?
I'm sorry, would you prefer JoJo's Bizarre Adventure opening?
JoJo...
Where basically all the effort went to the opening animation.
Yeah, and it still looks terrible because that CGI is absolutely vomit-inducing.
Yes, we understand how much you hate CGI in anime.
Yes, the new Berserk anime, which is an argument for another podcast altogether, but I'll say this. Berserk deserves to look better than that. Much, much better. I mean, when the original 90s anime adaptation of Berserk, as cheap as it was, looks better!
It was probably one of the cheapest fucking anime I've ever
seen. And yet, it looks much, much better than this iteration, with an actual budget and with all the freaking CGI floating around. That's really saying something, don't you think?
Basically, what really bothers me is they more or less cel-shaded everything.
Yeah, that's the problem. Cell shading
it looks fake as shit because of that.
Yes. Unless you know how to do it, like Disney, you should not do cell shading in an anime. Ever! Ever!
Like, it really does look like a PS3 game.
Too generous, really.
No,
PS2 game.
I'd say it looks on par with a PS3 game. But that's
so it looks like a bad video game cutscene, basically. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I mean, hell, even the fucking Berserk films that came out recently.
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. We all know
how much you hated the CG in that, and yes, the CG was pretty egregious, but they at least backed you up with regular cell animation in there too. Well, cell-style animation. It wasn't all CG all the way through. They basically used the CG almost exclusively for when they were fighting. So yeah, that's something that's really going to bother me on it. It's like I don't know. It probably would have been cheaper and better to just go with a traditional
style.
The traditional style. You did not have to CG this.
The Team Yume anime podcast, everybody. And I think this podcast was over like 10 minutes ago at this point.
Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing us rant about things that are going on.
Mostly you with Pokemon, really.
And I just want to be the very best, like no one ever was.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Say